And then what happened is Joseph ran away, and he was running towards the door, like he was rushing to the door, and she was behind him, and she held his thawb, his clothes, and she ripped it. She ripped his clothes, just like that. She was that desperate. She was that desperate. And guess what? Yusuf opened the door, and look who was at the door. It was her husband. Oh my God, what a shameful situation. And now she has to protect herself. How does she protect herself? The first thing comes to her mind is lying. No, he's the one who was about to rape me, and start crying, start crying, subhanallah. Just like also the brothers of Joseph, when they came and cried to their father, and what did they say? Oh, the wolf ate him, and so on. So let's learn this lesson. Not everybody comes to you, complaining and crying would be actually the right people. You have to listen to the other side. If you really want to be the judge, you have to listen to both sides. Don't be so emotional and passionate, and sympathize with somebody just by listening to one side of the story. You have to listen to the other side of the story, subhanAllah. And so what happened is, that her husband just saw her, and it was a big scandal, everybody now is going to know about it, and so on. So what happened is she started crying. She said, what is the recompense of one who intended evil for your wife, but he imprisoned or painful punishment? You should punish him. Joseph said, it was she who sought to seduce me, and a witness from her family testified. It looks like there was somebody else in there, and they testified the truth. So they said, what did they say? They say, look, let's look at the shirt, that it was torn. If it was torn from the front, that means it is Joseph's fault. If it is torn from the back, that means she's the one who seduced him, and she was trying to rip his shirt and get him, right? Subhanallah. And so that means, let's see who's the liar and who's the truthful. And when they look at the shirt, they found out that who's the liar? It was the wife, that she was the liar. But hey, the wife is from a very classy, high class. We have to do something about it. We can't put her on trial. We cannot do that. No, let the slave be punished. Let's just make a plot and make like a lie. And we'll sweep that story under the carpet. Right? So that's what they did. SubhanAllah. So when her husband saw his shirt torn from the back, he said, indeed, it is of the woman's plan. Indeed, your plan is great. Joseph, ignore this, and my wife, ask for forgiveness for your sin. Indeed, you were of the sinful. Subhanallah. Even the husband was actually trying to tell her that you need to stay away from that. This is sinful. Although the husband was not a Muslim. Subhanallah. Yeah. And the scandal just started spreading. Everybody started knowing the story. Ooh, the master, the wife, the classy, the rich woman. She likes the slave. What a shameful thing. What a shameful thing. And women in the city said, the wife of Al-Aziz is her husband, is seeking to seduce her slave boy. He has impassioned her with love. Indeed, we see her to be in a clear error. So she wanted also to justify herself in front of other people. So she would go even with more lies, right? And this is what happened. We start with a small lie, and then lie after lie, and it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it becomes really hard to stop after this, lie after lie. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَيْلٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ لِلْمُكَذِّبِينَ. Woe to the liars. Sometimes even we lie to ourselves and we say, well, Allah is going to forgive me. Let me just do this mistake or this sin, and then after that, I will just ask Allah subhanahu for forgiveness and Allah will forgive me. And then we lie to ourselves and then we believe that lie. And sometimes we don't want to admit that we're wrong with somebody, if somebody hurt us or we hurt other people. So we don't want to admit. So we start pretending and like convincing ourselves of things that really didn't happen, but we want to make up a story so we can feel better about it. And then we believe that story and it becomes our truth. SubhanAllah, it becomes our truth. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from this. So when she heard of their scheming, she sent for them an invitation and prepared for them a banquet. And she gave them knives and she said, okay, we're going to cut this kind of fruits or food, whatever, vegetables. And let's work together. And they were cutting fruits or vegetables, whatever it was. They were cutting some foods. And then she commanded Yusuf to pass by them. And look how this is so shameful when someone is just walking and, you know, and she's like, look over here. And she started looking, you know, how many times we feel so insulted when we are passing by and you know that there are two people just looking at you so weirdly and they're just chit-chatting and gossiping in front of you, you know, and you know that they're talking about you. You feel so awkward and weird, right? You feel so like like an insult, you know, SubhanAllah. So he passed right in front of them because she wanted to break him. He's still a slave for her. SubhanAllah. And so, you know, and gave each other of them a knife and said to Joseph, come out before them. And when they saw him, they greatly admired him. When they saw him, they're like, what a beauty. What an attractive man. And because they were so much, you know, caught into the scene, they start cutting and they start cutting their fingers and they were bleeding, you know, SubhanAllah. And actually, this is actually in science that if you are doing something and you cut yourself and you are so caught into it, they call suppressed pain, you know, suppressed pain. I don't know if you're, you know, if you work in the medical field, that means you wouldn't actually feel the pain. Like if you are doing something and you are walking and you're working without feeling any pain because you're so excited about it. But then when you go home, you start feeling the pain, right? SubhanAllah, right? So that's what they were doing. They were like so excited when they saw him. They were so attracted to him that they couldn't even feel the pain. SubhanAllah. Cut their hands and said, perfect is Allah. This is not a man. This is nothing but a noble angel. They saw him like a beautiful angel. SubhanAllah. So she said to them, she wanted to justify herself. She said, that is the one about whom you blamed me for. And I certainly sought to seduce him, but he firmly refused. But then she actually confessed that he was actually a righteous man. And if he will not do what I order him, he will surely be imprisoned and will be of those debased. At that time, Yusuf alayhi salam was feeling so down and he felt so ashamed and insulted from what she did to him. So he said, for me, my Lord, prison is more to my liking than that to which they invite me to, than doing the wrongdoings, than being like like a model for them. Sometimes, subhanAllah, we get into that situation is like, you know, it's like we're like a show in front of other people, you know, and it's better sometimes to close that door and isolate yourself from those people, from those evil, negative people that they just gossip at you and do negative things to you. Just close that door. And so he couldn't because he was a slave. So he did not have his life. He did not have a control on his life. So he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he said, my prison is more to my liking than that to which they invite me to. And if you do not avert from me their plan, I might incline toward them and thus be of those of the ignorant. So his Lord responded to him and averted from him their plan. Indeed, he is the hearing, the knowing. Then it appeared to them after they had seen the signs. Although Al-Aziz saw the signs and he saw the proofs that Joseph was an innocent man, they put him in jail and in prison for a time. So he was even more oppressed. SubhanAllah. Now let's reflect on this story. I'm going to stop right here and next time, inshallah, we'll continue the story talking about the blaming self.